Hi everyone and welcome back. I'm just coming on today to talk to you about the full moon in Capricorn happening on July 13th, 2022. As usual with all of the lunar cycles, this will be projecting us into a full month cycle, so these messages should resonate from mid-July until mid-August, and it will certainly be most potent as we move from the full moon to the waning moon and up to the new moon at the end of July. And I thought that it was important to come on and talk about this topic because a lot of things are really wild right now in life, in the world, and I think that the full moon in Capricorn will really help us to shed light on some of the more dense energy that has been coming in now, preparing us for the greater year cycle of 2023. And it will also, I think, give us a bit of respite and give us a bit of breathing room as we start to come to terms with some of the really inevitable or, as I said, dense energies that are facing us now. It feels like a coming to terms. It feels like a shift in commitment, a shift in contract, and as well perhaps the creation or the generation of a new kind of commitment or a new kind of lifestyle for some people. So anyway, everyone, I'm going to be getting into all of this in this video. I'm going to be talking about just general intuitive messages about this moon, and then I'm going to also put up some charts about halfway through the video where we can talk about some of the other astrology and transits and configurations happening. Before then, thank you so much to those of you who have subscribed to this YouTube channel. I'm doing live premieres every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Be sure to subscribe, join my mailing list, and I also do premium content on Patreon. Okay, everyone, let's talk about full moon in Capricorn. So, firstly, just a little bit about this moon every single year. So, full moon in Capricorn, of course, it's a debilitated moon. The moon is debilitated in Capricorn and Scorpio. So this moon always gives us a greater understanding about where we're having any type of debilitated emotions, what we're feeling, and is it a valid feeling. I find that the full moon in Capricorn always asks us to validate our feelings, validate our ideas, and to certainly not be in any kind of false reality, any kind of negative spiral of feelings that aren't going to get us anywhere. With full moon in Capricorn, we have to really see where our feelings are perhaps cutting off our progress, or where our emotions or habitual thinking cycles, especially the ones that are intuitive or coming from the gut, where they are not any longer out for our best interest, but are perhaps some kind of chaotic coping mechanism. So always this time of the year, and some of you might see, especially, I mean, this depends on what sign you are, but I find that for a lot of people, the months of July and August, but especially July, can be a more chaotic time of the year because this full moon in Capricorn, especially if you're a lunar person and you have a very active lunar energy in your chart, what it does is it shows what doesn't work anymore. It doesn't allow us to have these false ideas of comfort. It really cuts through the BS. Okay, it really cuts through any type of attachments that aren't healthy. So for example, if you have a codependent relationship, the full moon in Capricorn oftentimes will make that really hard, okay? Because it really seeks to ensure that any source of emotional comfort is solid and not, delusional or of the mind, like the moon card in tarot, which represents some degree of sometimes false pretense or some degree of not necessarily having the real transparent picture. So transparency really is a great theme to work with during this general time, during the full moon in Capricorn. Am I seeing things for what they are? Am I seeing my relationship bonds for what they are? Also, am I spending my time, money, and energy in a realistic way? Or am I perhaps spending emotionally? Am I budgeting my time realistically or emotionally? Are my cycles in life, my circadian rhythms, my sleep cycles, my lifestyle, is it a realistic one or is it a coping one? Is it kind of a purgative energy? That's really important to be seeing right now as we are in Cancer season. And some of the notes that I had taken when I was preparing to talk about this moon dealt with the sort of energetic alcove that I feel many of us are having beautiful access to here in Cancer season. It's almost like if you can imagine with Year of the Water Tiger, it's like a long underwater swim to like get to a different place. It's like almost like swimming under ice, okay, and trying to get to an air pocket. And I feel that there is an air pocket during this full moon in Capricorn and during this general Cancer season. So for that reason, it's a really important time of recharging, okay, of getting air, of perhaps preparing to dive again, preparing to be under the water again, and making more sort of beneath the surface progress, okay, is going to be, I think, happening for some of us. But also it's not, when I say beneath the surface, I don't mean like hidden. I don't mean like unseen so much. I more so feel like it's almost synaptic, or it's like the way that we connect to the deeper earth plane energy. We're making progress there. So our the way that we connect to the earth is changing, and the way that we energize, okay, is really changing up in this greater year cycle. So that takes a lot of energy. And for this reason, like burnout, tiredness, difficulty getting up, difficulty sleeping is all really prevalent this year, because I think a lot of people are drained or struggling with burnout to some degree. But this Cancer season, along with this full moon in Capricorn, are a great little window of time in this year. Really the entirety of Cancer season, so June 21st to July 21st, is an important time of recharging, cleansing, purifying, and for some people going through like karmic headache per se, in order to facilitate a greater synaptic expansion, or what that means is like a greater expansion of your like energetic connecting points. So having like new sources of energy, having new things that you love, new things that you connect to that you didn't used to, basically an entire expanding of the horizon. But that might not be what it feels like during this full moon in Capricorn. This full moon in Capricorn might actually make things feel quite limited. It might make it feel like there's a narrowing or a higher degree of commitment, a greater frugality needed, or a greater budget cut, or a greater reclaiming of your own time. But within this understanding, or within this reclaiming, within this type of narrowing, there's going to be an eventual greater expansion because of what we basically see now. Also, as a random message, it's a good time for healthy reliances. So relying on a certain diet that's really healthy. Also relying on family, relying on people who are safe and healthy and well, rather than pointing our energy to the things that have gone wrong, rather than trying to, get blood from a turnip per se, as they say, rather than trying to like dissect, discern, or solve something that just is not getting resolution right now. It's better to turn away from that stuff. Also like disputes or arguments or things that seem unresolvable. To me, I feel that people have been very caught up in the unresolvable, or have been trying like time and time again to get resolutions on things that just aren't quite resolvable yet, or are still in a pending phase. So we need to kind of turn away from that which is pending and sit with what actually works right now, or what actually can help or can give now. Okay. Some people can get a greater degree of closure now. Some people can have apologies or emotional healing in a relationship that they were struggling with, but it might also be delayed for some people as well. And they might have to get themselves in order first, or they might have to be seeing that like every single structure in their life is secure before they're kind of granted these greater closures or these greater reflective periods. So that's a major intuitive message that I'm feeling right now. With the way that the energy is right now, I don't feel that from a state of disarray or chaos that we're allowed to forge closure, or allowed to forge past reconciliations. We've had a lot of chances for that, but for some people it hasn't come through either. Basically, what I get really strongly, and the main intuitive message I actually get from this full moon in Capricorn, is it wants a major resolution point, or a major structural rebalancing on what we actually can restructure, what we actually have the power to reaffirm. And it kind of really wants us to turn away from what is out of our control, or what we can only kind of influence and not really have a final call on. So definitely take a look at the things in your life, like maybe like 80% of your energy could be going out to something that you don't really have the authority or jurisdiction, or you can't really change it. All you can do is like maybe influence other people to change it, or you can try to like bend situations in a very puzzling way. I really say turn away from that kind of stuff now. Any type of puzzle, any type of politically complex situation. When I say politically, I mean like where you have like a lot of other people and you're trying to like get some type of result through convincing a bunch of people of something. I think that these are very like dangerous things right now, because the sentiments can really turn. People can really suddenly not want to engage in that kind of thing, and they can really signal certain people out as like, okay, you're trying to like influence too many people or something, and things can get weird. What is better right now is to turn your focus back to what is particularly maybe inanimate in your life, or particularly structured by you, and really get that stuff right. And I think that as we go through a larger pending phase with that stuff, we're going to come into a secure place. And for some people, it's going to take quite a while, but for other people, it can happen quite quickly. We're going to come into a secure place where we basically have the room and we have the flexibility to actually, work in these greater, more expansive ways. And because we have a solid enough foundation, because the full moon in Capricorn really, really needs that emotional security from a solid foundation. And without that, it is a very grasping energy. Also, it's typical at this time of the year to have a sudden austerity of some kind. There could suddenly be a tighter budget. There could suddenly be like a stricter diet. There could suddenly be also less comfort from something that used to make you comfortable. If you have that, while it can be discouraging, try to not get too freaked out about it, because all that's doing is it's signaling a greater expansion or a type of replacement. So the word replacement has been really front and center for me since I made the July videos. There was a lot of energy of like replacement, like one thing is replaced by another, or one food is replaced by another, one provider is replaced by another, even locations. Like this is a greater time of replacement. And I think that that's a really positive thing to be thinking about with this moon. Like, what unhealthy things that are kind of like stagnating and ever present in my life could I replace, or could I switch up a little bit in order to receive a greater alchemy, because that's going to get us into a much more solid, secure place. Also, it is kind of a grand time of psychic attack right now, I feel, as well, or it can be very possible to be having some type of weird, just like new confrontation with energy that's unfamiliar, even if it's not deliberate, even if it's not, psychic attack is a very blanket term that we can start to attribute to too many different natural energetic movements. But I did a whole T-chat about this and about psychic attack on Patreon. I believe it's a 121 T-chat. I will link that below if you guys want to check that out, where I really talk about that at length if you're struggling with that. Anyway, everyone, let's talk more about just the astrology configurations that are happening during this full moon. Okay, so the chart should be on the screen. It's very close to the Pluto retrograde at 27 degrees. So if you're in the United States, of course, that is one of the most potent Pluto return degree points. So I think that there could be something there, or there could be just a lot of really crazy events, which I don't plan to go to in depth with right now. But basically, with this full moon in Capricorn, what it's going to do is it's going to create a new emotional environment around these themes of the Pluto return, or around these themes of greater macro transformation in that area and globally. So what that means is that there could be like scarcity, or there could be economic scarcity. There could be, and I mean, that's not even a could be, that is just happening right now. But what you might see is that also you're unwilling to like work with certain limitations or certain, narrower energies. And there might be a greater drive to have expansion, because it's a very kind of restrictive, narrow, yet forward-moving energy, I feel, with all of this cardinal stuff. We have the full moon in Capricorn conjunct Pluto at 27 degrees. We have Chiron in Aries, and of course Jupiter close by. We have the Sun and Mercury in Cancer. So we have this cardinal T-square happening, all configured within this full moon in Capricorn. So cardinal T-square of Pluto, Mercury, of course, Sun, Moon, and Chiron. That's a very strong perception that things aren't okay. Okay, is what that configuration is. That's a major realization point of like, oh my gosh, this is not sustainable. This is not acceptable. This is not a good thing. Okay, and this can be, of course, applied to so many different directions. But that's like the feeling that that T-square evokes is like, oh my God, something that I thought was healing and nurturing for me is actually very dangerous, perhaps, or is actually very, or concentrated in a way, or growing in a way, or presenting in a different timeline, or now in a way that is wounding or painful, because you have Chiron at the right angle position, which is the wounded healer. It's in Aries, so it means that it's a very open, direct, and even like in some cases violent expression of Chiron energy. And in a T-square, that is the point that really has the power, is the 90-degree angle Chiron. So you have the opposition set up by Moon and Pluto, and then Sun and Mercury. And then Chiron is the one driving the T-square, and it's the one with, I suppose, like the key to that opposition energy. So that means that there's going to likely be, difficult things to see, difficult things in the news, really hard-hitting stuff. And I would definitely recommend keeping safe and keeping in places that you know already are like a safe and kind, energetic space. Another side to that configuration, that T-square, is basically a totally major shift in comfort. Okay, so I think that a lot of people are actually having a revocation of comforts with this T-square. So things that have once been a safe zone for us, or things which have once been like undisputably positive in our lives, can shift here. This can be relationships. This could be like even like services or people that you've looked up to, even like mentors with the Capricorn Cancer thing, like parental figures, mentors, nurturing, kind people who are like older than you. So this is not really a feeling of like camaraderie. This is more like a feeling of, as I said, almost a paternal energy or a mentorship type of energy. And especially if those relationships had become like more friendly or had become more close, those can really be in jeopardy right now. And because maybe we have to like fly out of the nest, or we have to grow on our own now, and or we perhaps need new mentorship or new paternal energies coming in to help. So that's a very big possibility during this time. Someone you once looked up to could now be a totally different person now, or could now no longer be warranted the previous authority that you invested in them. That's also very possible right now. So we have to be very mindful of who we look up to, and we have to be very mindful that we're not letting maybe like 5 or 10 years ago relationship dynamics determine like who we are subordinate to, or who we are requesting a certain guidance from. Really take a look at who's guiding you during this time with that transit. That can be like a problematic guide. That can be like somebody who is in a guidance position who is only going to cause a lot of pain and havoc. Okay, this Chiron T-square to Pluto, Moon, Sun, Mercury. We have to really get very deliberate about who we are electing as a guide, a mentor, a tutor, a teacher, even like, I would say spouses as well, because sometimes spouses can be like this, or like deep romantic relationships can become, because they like, you sometimes request guidance, or you speak with these types of relationships as well, or even like really good friendships, anybody that you're seeking advice from. Be very mindful about that, and try to not, also, like, I would say, like, clergy members or people who naturally have any type of, like, or like gurus, or like any type of that type of thing where certain people have a certain authority just because they're holding that space. Be mindful with that. That can be problematic now, and we really need to take a look at our own self-guidance, as that might be the best way forward here. But there is always a need for mentors, guides. Like, I'm not saying that construct in and of itself is a bad thing, but we just need to really be careful about who we're selecting for that. Also, have we changed since the time when we selected those people? Are we different people now? And maybe the people that we used to be made sense for that guidance, but now how we've changed doesn't. It might not even be the guide or the mentor that's changed. It could be you that's changed. Or it could also be the guide or mentor that's changed. But I just feel that this is going to be across the board, like everywhere. Like, this type of construct, like either one or both people on both sides of that have really transformed, and that's going to maybe generate a certain chaotic energy that doesn't have to happen if we can be more mindful about that here. Also, we have Venus in Gemini trine Saturn from Gemini and Aquarius. So, yeah, there can be a sudden realization of relationships that won't work. Okay, Saturn trine Venus. And we can actually start to understand what does work for us. We can start to see what relationship contracts with the retrograde Saturn were destructive, and through that knowledge we can begin to set a better set of parameters on relationships in general. Also, this is a wonderful time to meet somebody with the Venus Saturn trine that could bring a lot of temperance and a lot of realistic, anchored, responsible thinking about where a relationship can actually go. This can also apply to other kinds of relationships. This is a positive transit right now. It's a mitigating transit where we actually have a lot of clarity and sort of just like good, neutral, less biased thinking about the status of certain relationships. And that's going to really help us to heal up here. So I like that transit. We have also, of course, the sextile from the North Node in Uranus to the Sun and Mercury. So that's also mitigating, and as well as the sextile from Neptune to Moon and Pluto at the midpoint, or close to the midpoint. So there are mitigations during this time. There are actually 3 very positive mitigating transits, and that is going to help us to get a better view of the big picture. That's going to help us also maybe have a few really positive experiences within this greater understanding of total shift for some people, total 180 coming for some people in 2023 or even starting now. But within that, there's like a really kind friendship, or there's also just a very intuitive knowing that one has the capability to make the right changes, or one knows deep within where things actually need to be, or one knows how these seemingly unresolvable, long-running, knotted energies will be loosened or untied or taken to a place where they're just no longer problematic or no longer that focused on. Okay, so a big focus shift as well. Also, during this full moon in Capricorn and building up to the Mars-Uranus North Node conjunction in the beginning of August, right here on July 13th, there's a really good window to understand what that energy means to you, as we have this sextile to Mercury. So this Uranus North Node sextile to Sun and Mercury can reveal and make conscious the way that this quite problematic configuration of Uranus-Mars North Node is going to channel, and how it needs to channel. For a lot of people, it has to do with resources, time, money, energy, and the attempt perhaps to make that too focused, or to just put too much focus, too much light on that type of thing. And actually, right during this full moon, if you want to meditate on that, or if you want to have a little bit more revealed about how you can positively channel this Uranus North Node Mars energy, I think that will come through, because that sextile denotes a natural movement of that particular energy, Uranus North Node, over to Mercury, which is the conscious mind, and the Sun, which is self-projection, conscious mind. So we can really take that from the subconscious up to the conscious here and understand exactly what has been like debased or overdone or overproduced, overexpressed, overdone, as I feel that to be the larger narrative of Mars-Uranus North Node. And also we can just like work out knots. It's a great time for working out knots with the mitigating energies along with the really harsh, hard-lined T-square. We also have really interesting quincunx energies from Saturn to Sun, Mercury, and from Pluto to Venus as well, Sun, Pluto to Venus. So it's a little bit of everything here. It's a little bit of everything, and within that is very opportune chances to understand the totality of the alchemy that you're basically engaged in right now, which I find it to be more opportune than it has been in a long time to really understand totality of your experience, to really understand the bigger picture, to really zoom out, and also replace certain pieces or replace certain hard line things that you once anchored with but are now vastly preventing movement. You know, anchors, think about it. That's interesting. During Cancer season too, the anchor, it's like a symbol of the Cancer Capricorn axis. An anchor can be a really great thing. It can keep the boat still, but it also prevents the boat from moving. So we have to really think about what is an anchor in our life and what is a good time. Sometimes there's like a time for it, right? Sometimes we need the anchor, sometimes we don't need the anchor. So that seems like the best way to channel this full moon in Capricorn energy. And for the month ahead is basically look at any anchors, look at anything really keeping you still, and assess whether it is an important time for stillness or whether it is a more important time for movement. So anyway, everyone, that seems like a great place to conclude for today. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Do check out my Patreon page below. I do weekly tea chats every Saturday that are really geared towards understanding the week ahead and towards understanding any pivotal ideas. Like I talked about psychic attacks in a recent one. I've talked about just the general theme of 2022, and I've really gone far ahead and looked into the oncoming time of 2023 as well. So check that out. I'll link it below. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're new and hit the bell notifications. And I have a mailing list below. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'm doing live premieres every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. It's a really enjoyable community event, so come and check that out if you would like to, and enjoy this oncoming full moon. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.